10 Zen parables could understand the part of you that feels tired, even when nothing's wrong. For centuries, Buddhist monks have shared these timeless teachings quietly, from heart to heart, to comfort those in pain, to relieve the weight of inner pressure, to ease anxiety and bring clarity to confusion, to dissolve emotional fatigue, and to help the mind finally rest. Because recent neuroscience confirms what Zen masters always knew. Stories wrapped in stillness and compassion help regulate your nervous system, soften our inner tension, and return us all to presence, your breath, our breath, one quiet moment. And tonight, these stories reach you as gentle medicine for a tired soul. At this moment, it's a return, a quiet unbinding of everything you've been holding too long, a soft space to remember the truth beneath thought. If these words already stirred something, a pause in your chest, a warmth behind your eyes, would you share one word in the comments that captures what brought you here tonight? And tell us, where in the world are you listening from? Maybe a darkened room in Seoul, a quiet hallway in Chicago, or a countryside kitchen near Lisbon with the window slightly open. When you share, you leave a light on for someone else. That's how this healing circle grows, heart by heart, light by light, breath by breath. Now we begin. The echo beneath the mountain. If you are here, listening in the quiet of the night, it is not by accident. There is a part of you that has been searching for a stillness that the world cannot offer. Let's begin with a confession, a truth that perhaps your own heart has been whispering to you. There is a quiet hum of exhaustion running beneath the surface of your days. It's not just physical tiredness. It is the deep, soul-level fatigue that comes from holding it all together, from performing, from striving, from the endless noise of a life that demands you be everything to everyone, all at once. Perhaps tonight, the weight of your own thoughts feels heavier than the blankets that cover you. The mental chatter, the replaying of conversations, the planning for a tomorrow that hasn't yet arrived. It all feels like a storm inside a closed room. You've been told to think positively, to hustle harder, to meditate on an empty mind. But how do you command a storm to be still? How do you find peace when the very act of searching for it feels like another task on an endless list? You are not alone in this feeling. This is the quiet suffering of the modern soul, a restlessness born from a world that has forgotten the language of silence. But what if the answer isn't in adding another practice, another technique, another effort? What if the loudest truth is hidden in silence? Close your eyes. Imagine yourself standing at the mouth of a deep mountain cave. The air is cool and smells of damp earth and ancient stone. Outside, the world is a symphony of noise, the wind in the trees, the distant call of a bird, the rush of a far-off stream. But here, at the threshold of this cave, a profound quiet beckons. You take a step inside, and then another, the light from the entrance fades, and you are wrapped in a gentle, velvet darkness. You want to call out, to hear your own voice, to confirm you are still there. But something holds you back, an instinct, an invitation. Instead of speaking, you listen. And in the listening, you hear it. Not a sound, but the absence of sound. A quiet so deep, so absolute, it feels like a presence. This is the stillness that holds the mountain's secrets. It does not shout. It does not preach. It simply is. The cave only echoes when you stop speaking. This is the first principle of Zen Buddhism healing, a timeless wisdom that speaks directly to the heart of our modern insomnia and anxiety. Stillness reveals truth. We live in a world that fears silence. We fill every spare moment with podcasts, with music, with scrolling, with a constant stream of information. We have become so accustomed to the noise that we mistake it for life itself. And so, when we lie down at night, the sudden absence of external sound creates a vacuum, and our own internal noise rushes in to fill the void. The anxieties, the regrets, the fears, they all start shouting at once. We believe we must fight them, reason with them, or distract ourselves from them. But the Zen masters offer a different path. They teach that the mind, like the cave, reveals its deepest truths not when we shout into it, but when we learn to sit within its quiet. There is an old story, a parable whispered in monasteries for centuries. It speaks of a young monk named Kaido, who was brilliant, devout, and deeply troubled. His mind was a whirlwind of questions. He read every scroll, debated every philosophy, and challenged every teacher. He wanted to understand enlightenment, to grasp it with his intellect, to conquer it with his will. But the more he learned, the more agitated he became. His nights were sleepless, his prayers felt hollow, and his mind felt like a cage of buzzing insects. One day, in desperation, he approached the old master of the monastery, a man named Ryujin, who was known not for his eloquent sermons, but for his profound, unshakable silence. Master Ryujin spent most of his days sitting under a great bodhi tree in the monastery courtyard, his eyes half closed, a faint, serene smile on his lips. Kaido bowed before him. "Master," he said, his voice tight with desperation, "I have studied for years. I have meditated until my legs are numb. I have debated the sutras with the wisest scholars, but I am no closer to peace. My mind is a storm. Please tell me the secret. What must I do to find the stillness you possess?" Master Ryujin did not speak. He simply opened his eyes, looked at Kaido with a gaze as deep and clear as a mountain lake, and then gestured to the empty space on the ground beside him. It was an invitation. "Sit." Kaido, frustrated but obedient, sat. He closed his eyes and tried to meditate, but his mind raged. He thought about the master's silence. Was it a test, a riddle, a rebuke? He tried to force his thoughts to quiet down, wrestling with them, fighting them, but they only grew louder, more insistent. Hours passed. The sun moved across the sky. Other monks came and went, their soft footsteps a gentle rhythm in the courtyard. Still, the master sat in perfect stillness, and Kaido sat beside him in tortured silence. Days turned into weeks. Every morning, Kaido would join the master under the tree. He gave up asking questions. He gave up trying to solve the puzzle of the master's silence. He simply sat. At first, it was an agony of restlessness. He was acutely aware of every itch, every ache, every fleeting thought. His mind presented him with 1,000 reasons to get up and leave. It told him this was a waste of time, that he was failing, that the master was a fraud. He was experiencing what modern neuroscience calls the default mode network, or DMN. This is the part of your brain that activates when you are not focused on a specific task. It is the storyteller network, the one that replays the past and rehearses the future. For those of us struggling with anxiety or insomnia, the DMN is often in overdrive. It's the engine of our looping thoughts, our worries, our self-criticism. When you lie in bed, unable to fall asleep, it is your DMN that is holding you hostage, spinning tales of what you should have done, or what might go wrong tomorrow. Kaido was in a battle with his own DMN, and he was losing. But then something began to shift. It was not a sudden epiphany. It was a slow, gentle surrender. He became tired of fighting. He was too exhausted to wrestle with his own thoughts anymore, so he just let them be. He watched them come and go like clouds in the sky, without judgment, without resistance. He noticed the feeling of the breeze on his skin. He heard the chirping of a cricket he had never noticed before. He felt the solid, steady presence of the earth beneath him. He was no longer trying to achieve stillness. He was simply resting in the present moment. In that rest, the storm in his mind did not vanish, but it lost its power. The thoughts were still there, but they were distant murmurs, not roaring thunder. He was the sky, not the clouds. One afternoon, after many weeks of sitting, a young novice approached the Bodhi tree. He saw Kaido sitting there, his face no longer tight with struggle, but soft with a quiet calm. The novice, who was troubled by his own doubts, felt a sense of peace just being near him. He bowed to the silent Kaido and whispered, "Teacher, my heart is heavy with fear. How can I find courage?" Kaido didn't move. He didn't speak. He just sat, breathing. But in the space of that shared silence, the novice felt an answer bloom within his own heart. He saw in Kaido's stillness not an absence of fear, but a quiet courage to sit with it. He understood that courage wasn't about fighting the darkness, but about not being afraid of it. The novice bowed in gratitude and walked away, his heart lighter. Over time, more people came. They brought their questions, their sorrows, their confusion. They would sit in the presence of the two silent monks. A merchant worried about his failing business sat with them, and in the quiet, he realized his fear was not about money, but about his identity. He let go of the need to be a successful man and found the freedom to simply be a man. A woman grieving the loss of her partner sat with them, and in the stillness, she felt not the agony of absence, but the enduring presence of love that death could not touch. They found answers not in words, but in the profound, healing silence that Kaido had finally surrendered to. One day, Kaido opened his eyes and looked at Master Hyujin. Tears were streaming down his face, but they were not tears of sorrow. They were tears of gratitude. He finally understood. The Master's secret was not a piece of knowledge to be acquired. It was a state of being to be inhabited. In the heart of stillness, wisdom is not spoken, it is known. Peace is not something you find. It is what remains when you stop searching so desperately for it. The truth was not in the answer, but in the silence that held the question. Your bed tonight can be your Bodhi tree. The darkness of your room can be your sacred cave. You do not need to fight the thoughts that arise. You do not need to solve the problems of your life right now. The invitation is simply to sit with them, metaphorically, to lie with them, to allow them to be there without giving them your energy, your belief, your resistance. Let them be the clouds passing in the vast sky of your awareness. Notice the feeling of your body resting, the weight of it sinking gently into the mattress. Feel the gentle rise and fall of your chest with each breath. This is real. This is happening right now. The stories in your mind are just that, stories. They are echoes of a past that is gone, or phantoms of a future that does not exist. But your breath is always in the present moment. It is your anchor to the here and now. Let each exhale be a letting go, a release of the need to figure it all out, a surrender of the fight. You don't have to make your mind silent. You only have to rest in the awareness that is already silent, the quiet space in which the thoughts are happening. This is the profound practice offered by Buddhist psychology. It is not about suppression. It is about spaciousness. It's about creating enough inner space that your anxieties and fears have room to breathe. And in breathing, they begin to soften and dissolve on their own. In this stillness, you are not ignoring your pain. You are holding it with a gentle, compassionate awareness. You are allowing it to be seen, to be felt, without judgment. And in that radical act of acceptance, healing begins. You might be thinking, but my pain is real. My problems are not just stories. And that is true. The practice of stillness is not a denial of life's difficulties. It is the source of our strength to meet them. And yet, even in silence, a storm brews deep within us. In the parable of the mirror that refused to shatter, you'll see how strength is not the absence of breaking, but the clarity that remains when nothing is left to hold on to. This journey we are on tonight is a deep dive into that very strength. It is a path of emotional healing, of finding the resilience that is already within you, buried beneath the noise. For now, just rest. Let the silence speak where words no longer matter. The story of Kaido teaches us that the most profound answers are not found in the frantic search, but in the quiet surrender. Your mind isn't broken because it's noisy. It's human. The path to a peaceful mind and restful sleep is not through war, but through welcome. Welcome the thoughts. Welcome the feelings. Welcome the restlessness. And watch as, held in the gentle embrace of your awareness, they begin to settle, like dust falling in a still room, revealing the clear, clean space that was there all along. When we stop speaking, we start listening to the world that breathes beneath our thoughts. We listen to the rhythm of our own heart. We listen to the quiet wisdom of our body. We listen to the deep, resonant silence that is our true nature. You are not the noise. You are the stillness that hears it. Let yourself sink into that stillness now. Let it hold you. Let it heal you. There is nothing to fix, nothing to chase. Simply be here, breathing in this moment. And let this moment be enough. As you drift, as you float, carry this quiet with you. Let it be the gentle current that pulls you toward the shores of deep sleep. The leaf that falls makes no sound, yet it changes the forest forever. And your quiet surrender, right now, is changing the landscape of your inner world, preparing you for a peace you have earned, a rest you so deeply deserve. Everything is okay. Just breathe. The leaf that fell without sound. In the space that follows a deep breath. In the moment, just after a thought has dissolved, there is a quiet opening. We left our monk, Kaido, in the profound silence beneath the Bodhi tree, having discovered that truth is not found, but felt. He learned that stillness is not an absence, but a presence. And yet, this is only the beginning of the path. For even after we find a moment of peace, the world continues its dance of change, of gain, of loss. And our first instinct is to cling, to hold on. So, let me ask you this. Why do we cling to what is already falling? Imagine a single, perfect, golden leaf in the full blush of autumn. It hangs from a high branch, trembling slightly in the cool air. The sun catches it, and it glows with a fiery, transient beauty. For weeks, it has been a part of the tree, drinking the sunlight, dancing in the wind. But its time is coming to an end. A gentle breeze whispers through the branches. The leaf's connection to the tree, once so strong, is now just a fragile thread. It lets go, but instead of falling, imagine this leaf caught in midair, suspended by an invisible force. It is neither rising back to the branch nor landing on the forest floor. It is stuck, held in a state of resistance, refusing the inevitable pull of the earth. It is a beautiful, tragic, and exhausting state of being, and it is a perfect metaphor for the human heart. This brings us to the second great principle for deep sleep and complete mental relaxation: letting go of resistance. This is perhaps one of the most misunderstood concepts in Buddhist teachings. We often hear the phrase, "let go," and interpret it as an act of cold detachment, of giving up, of not caring. But true letting go is not an act of indifference. It is an act of profound trust. It is the wisdom to recognize that some things are meant to fall, and that our desperate attempts to hold them in midair are the true source of our suffering. Our insomnia, our anxiety, the tension we hold in our shoulders and our jaws, so much of it comes from this resistance. We are resisting the end of a relationship, the loss of a job, the fading of our youth, the reality of a situation we cannot change. We are that golden leaf burning all of our energy, trying to stay suspended in midair, terrified of the ground below. A young, earnest student, much like Kaido once was, came to his Zen master. The student was plagued by a sense of deep inner turmoil. "Master," he said, his brow furrowed with effort, "I meditate, I practice mindfulness, I try to be compassionate, but I still feel trapped. My mind is a prison of old hurts and future fears. When will I be free?" The master listened with a soft, patient gaze. He said nothing. Instead, he led the student out into the monastery's autumn garden. The ground was a carpet of red and gold. The air was crisp and clean. The master stooped down, picked up a single, perfect maple leaf, and handed it to the student. The student held it in his palm, admiring its delicate veins, its fiery color. "When will I be free?" the student asked again, a little impatiently. The master looked at the leaf in the student's hand, and then looked into the student's eyes. He said very softly, "When this leaf falls, don't catch it." The student was confused. It was a riddle, surely. He waited for the master to elaborate, to explain the deeper meaning. But the master simply smiled and walked away, leaving the student standing alone in the garden, holding the leaf. The student stood there for a long time, pondering the master's words. He held the leaf tightly, as if it were a precious jewel. He thought, "He wants me to understand impermanence, that all things pass." But that felt like a dry, intellectual understanding. It didn't touch the place inside him that ached. The sun began to set, casting long shadows across the garden. A gust of wind rustled the trees, and a shower of leaves rained down around him. He watched them fall effortlessly, gracefully, surrendering to the pull of the earth. They did not struggle. They did not resist. They simply let go. He looked down at the leaf in his own hand. He was still clinging to it. His fingers were wrapped tightly around its fragile stem. And in that moment, he understood the master's instruction was not a metaphor. It was a direct, physical teaching. The freedom he sought was not in understanding the concept of letting go. It was in the act of letting go. He slowly, consciously uncurled his fingers. He opened his palm. For a moment, the leaf rested there, held by the faintest surface tension. Then another breeze came, and the leaf lifted from his hand. It danced in the air for a second, a flash of gold in the fading light, and then it drifted gently to the ground, joining its brothers and sisters on the soft earth. He did not catch it. He simply watched it fall. And as it landed, he felt a profound release in his own body. A tension he didn't even know he was holding in his chest, his shoulders, his heart began to dissolve. Letting go was not loss, it was trust. It was trusting the ground to be there. It was trusting that the cycle of life, of growth, of falling, of rest, was wise and whole. He was not losing a leaf, he was joining the dance of the universe. How many leaves are you holding onto tonight as you lie in your bed? Perhaps it is the leaf of a past mistake, a conversation you wish you could have again, a moment of failure you replay over and over. You hold it so tightly, examining it from every angle, as if your scrutiny could somehow change what is already done. The Master's wisdom whispers to you now, when this leaf falls, don't catch it. Let it go. It is not denial. It is not forgetting. It is the compassionate act of freeing yourself from a prison of the past. You can acknowledge the memory, honor the lesson it taught you, and then gently, lovingly, open your hand and let it drift to the ground. Let it become part of the rich soil of your history, something that nourishes new growth, rather than something you carry as a dead weight. Or perhaps the leaf you are clinging to is a worry about tomorrow. The fear of a difficult meeting, a health concern, the endless what-ifs that plague the sleepless hours. This is the leaf of control. We believe that if we just worry about it hard enough, if we plan for every possible outcome, we can prevent the fall. We can keep the leaf in midair. But this is an illusion, and a deeply exhausting one. It is like trying to command the wind. Buddhist psychology teaches us to distinguish between what is in our control and what is not. You can prepare, you can act with wisdom and care during the day. But at night, in the quiet of your room, your worrying does not change the future. It only steals the peace of your present. So, can you open your hand? Can you let the leaf of tomorrow's anxieties fall, trusting that when morning comes, you will have the strength and the resources to meet whatever arises, trusting that the ground will be there to meet you too. This is not apathy, this is sanity. It is reclaiming your energy from the phantom future and bringing it back to the only place where life is actually happening, right here, right now. Let your breath be the breeze that helps you let go. With every inhale, acknowledge the leaf you are holding. repeat silently in your mind, "This is the fear of failure. This is my regret. This is my anxiety about my health." And with every long, slow, gentle exhale, imagine your hand opening. Imagine the leaf lifting, dancing, and drifting away, surrendering to the great, soft quiet of the night. Let go, two of the most healing words in any language. Let go. Feel the release in your muscles. Feel the space that opens up in your mind when you stop clinging. What falls does not fall apart. It returns to where it always belonged. The leaf returns to the earth to become soil. The wave returns to the ocean. The breath returns to the air. And your worry, when you let it go, returns to the vast, empty spaciousness of potential from which all things arise and to which all things return. You are not losing a part of yourself. You are returning to your whole, spacious nature. The student in the garden learned that freedom wasn't a destination he had to strive for. It was a release he could choose in any moment. And so can you. Right now. You don't need to solve your life's problems to fall asleep. You only need to give yourself permission to stop holding them so tightly just for tonight. Give them to the silence. Give them to the darkness. They will be there in the morning if you need to pick them up again. Perhaps, after a night of deep, restful sleep, you will find that some of them have turned to dust, and others look much smaller in the light of a new day. This is the magic of letting go. It doesn't change the world, but it changes our relationship to it. And that changes everything. As you sink deeper into comfort, into rest, let this be your meditation. A gentle, continuous letting go with every exhale. Let go of the day that is done. Let go of the need to be perfect. And let go of the story of who you think you are. Let go of the struggle. You are safe. You are held. Everything is okay. In this moment, there is nothing to do, nowhere to go, no one you need to be, just this breath, this quiet, this gentle release. Letting go is a kind of remembering. It is remembering that you are not the leaf, you are not the tree, you are not even the wind. You are the whole forest, the entire cycle of life, in which falling is as natural and as necessary as growing. From here, we drift toward the lesson of the bird that forgot to fly, where identity sheds its feathers, and we'll discover how forgetting becomes remembering. But for now, just rest in this beautiful, open space you have created. The space of the open hand, the space of the falling leaf, the space of trust. Feel the peace that resides in that space. It has been waiting for you all along. A bird who forgets how to fly finds the sky still waiting. And the ground is always, always waiting to catch you. Let yourself fall into it now. Fall into rest. Fall into peace. Fall into deep, healing sleep. The bird that forgot to fly. Let the feeling of release settle around you, like soft earth receiving a fallen leaf. You have given yourself permission to let go, and in that space, a new question can arise, one that goes even deeper. Who is the one who was clinging? Who is the one who has now let go? Who are you when you stop trying to be someone? Imagine a bird, not a magnificent eagle soaring on thermal currents, nor a tiny, energetic hummingbird darting from flower to flower. This is an ordinary bird, a sparrow perhaps, with feathers the color of dust and stone. For years, this bird has flown. It has known the exhilaration of the open sky, the struggle against the wind, the joy of finding a high branch at sunset. Flying was its identity. It was a flyer. It was what it did. It was who it was. But one day, the bird landed on a smooth, gray stone at the edge of a still pond. And it just sat. It watched the other birds trace patterns in the blue expanse above. It felt the wind lift its own feathers, the same wind that had carried it 1,000 times before. But it did not take off. It wasn't a decision. It wasn't an act of will. It was more like a forgetting. It forgot how to fly. Or rather, it forgot that it was supposed to fly. It sat there for a long time. The sun warmed its back. It watched the ripples on the pond. It listened to the buzz of a dragonfly. It felt the solid, unmoving presence of the stone beneath its feet. And in this great, profound stillness, a new understanding dawned. It had never been flying. All those years, it thought it was its own effort, its own strength, its own will that had kept it aloft. But now, sitting here, feeling the wind, it realized the truth. It was never flying. It was being carried. The sky, the wind, the currents of air, they had been doing the work all along. Its only job was to open its wings and trust the invisible forces that were always there to support it. The frantic effort, the struggle, the identity of being a flyer, that was the weight. That was the burden. The wings themselves were light. This is the third profound teaching for emotional healing and inner peace: non-attachment to identity. We, like the bird, spend our entire lives building and maintaining our identities. I am a mother. I am a professional. I am a success. I am a failure. I am anxious. I am a spiritual person. We stitch these labels together like a heavy coat, and then we wonder why we feel so burdened, so exhausted. We believe these identities are our wings, but in reality, they are the cage. The pressure to live up to these labels, to perform them correctly, is the source of so much of our hidden stress and sleeplessness. When you lie awake at night, what are the identities that are speaking? Is it the responsible employee worrying about a deadline? Is it the good parent feeling guilty about a moment of impatience? Is it the person who has it all together, terrified that the cracks are starting to show? These are not you. These are roles you are playing. They are stories you are telling yourself. And the effort of believing in them, of defending them, is what keeps your nervous system in a state of high alert. There's a story of a Zen master who was once a renowned samurai warrior. He was famous throughout the land for his skill, his bravery, his unwavering discipline. His identity as a warrior was forged in steel and fire. One day, after a great battle, he sat cleaning his sword when he noticed his reflection in the polished blade. He saw his own face, etched with lines of stress and weariness. He saw the face of a man who had lived his life in a state of constant tension, always ready for the next threat. In that moment, he realized that his identity as a warrior, the very thing that had brought him fame and honor, was also his prison. It demanded he always be strong, always be vigilant, always be separate from the world he sought to protect. He laid down his sword. He walked away from the battlefield, from his title, from his fame. He traded his armor for a simple monk's robe. He went to a monastery, not to become a master or a saint, but simply to learn how to be, to undo the knots of his own identity. For years, the other monks whispered about him. "That is the great warrior," they would say. They tried to treat him with deference, to honor his past. But he would just smile and continue sweeping the temple floors or washing the rice. When people asked him about his famous battles, he would say, "The person who fought those battles is no longer here." He wasn't being coy. He meant it. He had let that identity die. He had allowed himself to become a beginner again, to be no one, to be empty. And in that emptiness, he found a peace that was far more powerful than any sword, a strength that was far more resilient than any armor. He found that when he was no longer a warrior, he could be truly brave. When he was no longer a master, he could be truly wise. When he was no longer someone, he could finally be himself. The bird on the stone, in its forgetting, made a similar discovery. It was not a flyer. It was a bird. And a bird is a part of the wind, a part of the sky, a part of the stone. Its nature was not in the doing, but in the being. And so, after a long while, it did fly again. But it was different now. There was no effort, no struggle. It simply opened its wings, and the sky lifted it. It was a dance, a collaboration. It had surrendered the illusion of control, and in doing so, had found true mastery. It was no longer a bird in the sky. It was the sky expressing itself as a bird. This is a deeply healing realization for those of us who feel the immense pressure to perform, to achieve, to constantly prove our worth. The part of you that is trying so hard, that is so afraid of failing, is just an identity. It is a story. It is not the truth of who you are. The truth of who you are is the silent, spacious awareness that is watching that story play out. It is the sky, not the bird. You have been trying to fly with your own frantic effort, flapping the wings of your ego, your ambition, your fear. And it is utterly exhausting. What would it feel like, just for tonight, to stop flapping, to rest on the stone, to forget that you are supposed to be going somewhere, achieving something, being someone? Let your body be the stone, solid, grounded, unmoving. Feel its weight, its presence. It is not trying to be anything. It is simply here. Let your thoughts, your worries, your identities be the birds that fly overhead. There goes the anxious one. There goes the overthinker. There goes the one who is failing. You don't have to get rid of them. You don't have to shoot them down. Just watch them. From the stillness of the stone, you are the watcher. You are the silent witness. You are the vast, open space in which all of this is happening. This is not about becoming passive or giving up on your goals. The warrior monk still swept the floors with great care and attention. The bird still flew. The point is not to stop acting, but to stop identifying with the action. When you act from a place of spaciousness, rather than from a place of a tense, contracted identity, your actions become more fluid, more intuitive, more effective. You are no longer being carried by the frantic energy of your ego. You are being carried by the great, wise current of life itself. But that wisdom can only be found when you are willing to become no one for a little while, to let the labels fall away, to rest in the mystery of your own being without needing to define it or pin it down. This is a radical act of self-compassion. It is giving yourself the gift of not having to be on anymore. Just for tonight, you don't have to be a mother, a father, a partner, an employee, a success, or a failure. You don't have to be a good meditator or someone working on themselves. You can let all of those heavy coats drop to the floor, and you can simply be a presence, a consciousness, breathing, resting, here. When you let go of who you think you are, you create the space to become who you are truly meant to be. The pressure releases. The nervous system calms down. The body knows on a deep cellular level that it is safe to rest. Because the real you, the spacious awareness that is listening to these words right now, cannot be threatened. It cannot fail. It cannot be judged. It is already whole, already complete, already at peace. You were never the flight, you were the space in which flying happened. Feel that space now. It is inside you and all around you. It is the quiet between these words. It is the stillness in your heart. Rest in it. Let it hold you. It is your true home. And yet, in the fable of the cloud that carried a name, we'll confront how even names become prisons, and how soft the air feels when we forget them. We will see how this letting go of identity is not a one-time act, but a continuous, gentle unfolding. But for this moment, the invitation is simple. Forget who you are. Forget what you are supposed to be doing. And remember the feeling of the stone, solid, still, at peace. Remember the feeling of the sky, vast and open and ready to carry you, not through effort, but through surrender. Even the wind kneels before the empty cup. Let yourself become empty now, empty of striving, empty of identity, empty of the need to be anything at all, and feel how, in that emptiness, you are finally, truly full, full of peace, full of stillness, full of the potential for deep, healing sleep. The wind that bowed to the empty cup. As the weight of identity lifts, a lightness enters, a space opens. You are no longer the bird trying to fly, but the sky itself. You are no longer the warrior, but the silent witness. In this openness, this gentle emptiness, we find ourselves before the next great teaching. It begins with a question that turns our worldly logic on its head. Can an empty cup teach us how to be full? Picture this. On the weathered wooden windowsill of an old monastery sits a single empty teacup. It is made of simple, unadorned porcelain, pale and smooth. It has been sitting there for a very long time. Outside, a storm is gathering. The wind, which was once a gentle breeze, is now a powerful, rushing force. It howls around the corners of the building. It rattles the paper screens. It bends the mighty bamboo trees in the garden until they almost touch the ground. The wind is a display of immense power, of untamed energy. It could rip the tiles from the roof. It could tear a tree from its roots. But when this powerful, arrogant wind reaches the windowsill, something strange happens. It swirls around the little, empty cup. It makes the cup tremble, yes. It whispers a high, thin song against its rim, but it cannot tip it. It cannot move it. It cannot shatter it. And so the wind, in its own way, seems to bow. It divides itself, flowing around this small vessel of nothingness, and continues on its blustering way. The cup remains still, silent, and empty. It is its emptiness that is its strength. This is the fourth principle for complete mental relaxation. Openness in the face of uncertainty. The wind is the chaos of life. It is uncertainty. It is the unexpected news, the sudden change, the future we cannot predict or control. And we, in our modern lives, try to be the bamboo tree. We try to be strong, to be flexible, to bend without breaking. This is a noble effort, but it is also exhausting. We are constantly bracing ourselves against the next gust of wind. We are living in a state of perpetual, low-grade tension, waiting for the next storm. But the Zen masters offer a different model. They invite us to be the empty cup. A cup must be empty to receive tea, and so must we. This is one of the most famous teachings in Zen, and it is profoundly relevant to our struggle with anxiety and insomnia. Our minds are often so full. They are full of our opinions, our beliefs, our plans, our fears, our judgments about how things should be. We are a cup that is already full to the brim with our own ideas. So when life, the wind, comes with its own reality, its own unpredictable force, we have no room to receive it. The new information, the unexpected event, just spills over the side, creating a mess of frustration, anger, and resistance. We are fighting the wind, and the wind will always win. The empty cup does not fight. It does not have a plan for the wind. It does not have an opinion about the wind. It simply sits, open, receptive, and empty. And because it is empty, it has an unshakable stability. The wind bows not out of weakness, but because it understands humility. It recognizes a presence that does not need to assert itself, a strength that comes not from force, but from surrender. There is a story of a great scholar who traveled far to visit a Zen master. The scholar was proud of his knowledge. He had read all the sacred texts, mastered complex philosophies, and could argue any point with brilliant logic. He came to the master not to learn, but to show off his own understanding. He entered the master's simple hut and immediately began to speak, pouring out a torrent of theories, concepts, and quotations. The master listened patiently, a gentle smile on his face. While the scholar talked, the master began to prepare tea. He placed 2 cups on the small table between them. He poured hot water into the scholar's cup. The scholar kept talking, barely pausing for breath, explaining the nature of the universe, the path to enlightenment, the flaws in other schools of thought. The master continued to pour. The tea filled the cup. It reached the brim, and then it began to overflow, spilling out onto the table, running down its legs, and pooling on the floor. The scholar, finally distracted from his own voice, cried out, "Stop! What are you doing? The cup is full. It can't hold any more." The master stopped pouring, looked at the scholar, and said, "Like this cup, you are full of your own opinions and speculations. How can I show you Zen unless you first empty your cup?" That scholar is us, every night when we lie in bed. Our minds are overflowing. We are full of the day's events, full of our worries about tomorrow, full of our judgments about ourselves and our lives. We are so full, there is no room for peace. There is no room for rest. There is no room for sleep to enter. Sleep, like tea, can only be received by an empty cup. To empty your cup does not mean to become stupid or ignorant. It means to let go of your rigid attachment to your own thoughts and beliefs, just for a while. It means to cultivate a state of beginner's mind, a mind that is open, eager, and free of preconceptions. It is the humility to say, "I don't know. I don't know what tomorrow will bring. I don't know the solution to this problem. I don't know who I am supposed to be." And in that, "I don't know," is a profound freedom. The tension of having to have all the answers dissolves. The pressure to control the uncontrollable releases. You become the empty cup on the windowsill, and the winds of uncertainty can howl all they want. They cannot harm you. They cannot knock you over, because you are not resisting them. You are offering them nothing to push against. So how do we practice this? Right here, right now, in our own beds. We can start by noticing what our cup is full of. Without judgment, just observe the contents of your mind. Is it full of planning, rehearsing a conversation, replaying a hurt? Is it full of the news, of financial worries, of a critical inner voice? Just see it. Acknowledge it. Ah, my cup is full of worry about my children. My cup is full of anger about what happened at work. Now imagine you can gently, metaphorically, tip that cup over. Not in a violent, rejecting way, but in a soft, releasing way. Imagine pouring the contents out onto the quiet, dark earth of the night. Pour out the plans. Pour out the regrets. Pour out the need to be right. Pour out the fear of being wrong. Let it all go. Watch it soak into the ground and disappear. And what is left is the cup. Empty, open, ready. This emptiness is not a void. It is not a scary nothingness. It is a space of pure potential. It is the stillness in which you can finally hear your own deeper wisdom. It is the quiet in which your body's natural intelligence can take over and guide you into the healing state of sleep. This is what it means to heal from within. It is not about adding more, but about creating space. When your mind is empty and open, you can receive the present moment as it is, without filtering it through your old stories and fears. You can feel the softness of your pillow. You can hear the gentle hum of the house settling. You can feel the peaceful rhythm of your own breathing. You are receiving reality directly, and in its directness, there is peace. You become unoffendable, unhurtable, because you are not holding onto a fixed idea of how things should be. You are simply open to how they are. To receive fully, we must first become hollow. This may sound frightening to an ego that wants to be full, to be important, to be knowledgeable. But your soul, the deeper part of you that is listening now, understands. It craves this emptiness. It craves the freedom of it. It knows that in this sacred hollowness, true fullness is found. Not the fullness of clutter, but the fullness of being present, being peaceful, being free. Let yourself be the empty cup. Let the winds of thought and worry blow right through you. They have no power over you unless you give it to them. Rest in your empty, open, silent nature. There's more to be revealed in the story of the gate that opens inward, where we'll find that what looks like a wall is only a door waiting for surrender. The empty cup is the first step. It is the surrender that allows us to find the gate. For now, just be the cup, trembling, perhaps, with the vibrations of the world, but fundamentally unmovable in your quiet, empty strength. Only the mirror that does not shatter shows what we truly are. And that mirror, like the cup, is powerful not because of what it holds, but because of its ability to let everything pass through it, to reflect without clinging. Rest now in that empty fullness. There is nothing you need to hold, no position you need to defend. Let the world be as it is. Let yourself be as you are, empty, open, and deeply, profoundly at peace. Allow this feeling of spaciousness to be the vessel that carries you into your dreams. The mirror that refused to shatter. We have rested in the stillness of the cave, let go like the falling leaf, forgotten our name like the bird on the stone, and become empty like the cup on the windowsill. Each step has brought us closer to a peace that is not built, but discovered. A peace that is already here beneath the noise. And now we arrive at a place of profound strength, a place that directly addresses the fear that whispers, "If I let go, if I become empty, won't I break? Won't I fall apart?" This leads us to a powerful, paradoxical truth, and it begins with this question: what breaks when nothing is held together? Imagine an ancient mirror in a long-forgotten room of a temple. It's not a shiny, perfect mirror. Its silvering is tarnished, and it is covered in a thick, soft layer of gray dust, accumulated over decades of disuse. If you were to look into it, you would see nothing. No face, no reflection, just a murky, opaque surface. It seems useless, broken in its purpose. For years, people have walked past this room, ignoring the mirror, seeing it as a relic of a time long past. They are seeking clarity, seeking to see themselves, but they look for it in the polished surfaces of the modern world, in the reflections they get from others, from their achievements, from their social media feeds. They are constantly trying to see who they are, but they are looking in mirrors that show them only what they want to see, or what they fear they are. One day, a young nun, tasked with cleaning this forgotten part of the temple, enters the room. She sees the old mirror. Her first instinct is to try and polish it, to scrub away the dust, to force it to be a mirror again. But the dust is so thick, so settled, it seems a part of the mirror itself. As she begins to wipe it, she realizes something. The dust is not the mirror, and the mirror beneath the dust is not what she thought. It is not a single, solid piece of glass. It is a mosaic of 1,000 tiny, perfectly fitted pieces. It was designed to look like one seamless surface, but its nature is multiplicity. She stops trying to clean it. Instead, she just sits with it, looking at this dusty, forgotten object. And a teaching arises in her mind, a whisper from the silence of the room. We think we are a single, solid thing, a self, an ego, a personality. And we spend our lives in a state of terrified tension, trying to hold this self together. We polish it, we defend it, we curate it. We are terrified that it will crack, that it will shatter under the pressures of life. This constant effort, this internal bracing, is the source of our deepest anxieties. It is the clenched fist in our soul. The teaching that blooms in the nun's mind is this: we do not crack from emptiness, but from the effort to stay whole. Zen reminds us that the mirror reflects only when it is unburdened. The true self is not a solid, breakable thing. It is like the space in the room. It cannot be shattered. It is the emptiness that holds all the pieces. The identity we cling to, the personality we defend, that is the dust. It is an accumulation of experiences, beliefs, and memories. It is not who we are. It is just dust covering the mirror. And the fear of shattering comes from mistaking ourselves for this fragile, constructed image. There is a powerful story about the Zen master Hypnotic. He was a revered teacher, living a quiet, monastic life. One day, a young woman in the village became pregnant, and to protect the identity of the child's father, a young man she loved but could not marry, she named Hypnotic as the father. It was a shocking, scandalous accusation. Overnight, the master's reputation was destroyed. The villagers who had once revered him now looked at him with scorn and contempt. His students left him. He was disgraced. His identity as a pure, enlightened master was shattered into a million pieces. People would come to the temple and shout insults at him. When the baby was born, the woman's family brought the infant to Hypnotic and thrust it into his arms, saying, "This is your child. You must care for it." Hypnotic showed no anger, no defensiveness. He simply took the baby and said, "Is that so?" For the next year, Hypnotic cared for the child with great love and tenderness. He would go begging in the village, not for himself, but for milk for the baby. He endured the insults, the glares, the loss of everything he had built. He did this without complaint, without a word of self-defense. He was a shattered mirror. His image was completely broken, but he himself was not broken. He was at peace, because his peace did not depend on his reputation. It did not depend on what others thought of him. He was not attached to the identity of Master Hypnotic. He was simply present, responding to what life placed in front of him, a baby that needed care. A year later, the young woman could no longer bear her guilt. She confessed the truth to her parents, that the father was the young man she loved. Her family, horrified at the injustice they had done, rushed to the temple to beg for Hypnotic's forgiveness. They explained the whole story, bowing low before him, filled with shame. Hypnotic listened patiently. Then he handed the baby back to them and said simply, "Is that so?" He had not been broken by the slander, and he was not healed by the apology. He was like the sky, which is not stained by the dark clouds of lies, nor made more pure by the bright sun of truth. He was free because he was empty of a self that needed to be defended. This is resilience through emptiness. This is a profound lesson for us as we lie here in the dark. So much of our anxiety comes from a fear of being shattered. We fear failure because it will shatter our identity as a competent person. We fear rejection because it will shatter our identity as a lovable person. We fear illness because it will shatter our identity as a healthy, strong person. We are living like a mirror made of a single, thin sheet of glass, constantly terrified of the slightest impact. But the truth of your being is not that fragile. The real you, the deep, silent awareness that is listening right now, is not a single sheet of glass. It is more like space. Can you shatter space? Can you crack the sky? The you that you are so desperately trying to protect is just the dust on the mirror. It's a collection of stories, a fragile construct. True strength, true resilience, is found in realizing you are not that fragile construct. You are the vast, open, unbreakable space in which that construct appears. So when a painful thought arises, a fear, a self-criticism, see it for what it is. It is a stone being thrown at the mirror. If you believe you are the mirror's surface, you will flinch, you will brace, you will live in fear of the crack. But if you know you are the empty space that the mirror reflects, the stone just passes through. It has no impact. This is not about being cold or unfeeling. Hakuin cared for the baby with immense love. It is about not being personally destroyed by the events of your life. You can feel sadness without becoming sadness. You can feel failure without becoming a failure. The emotions, the events, the thoughts, they are experiences passing through you. They are not you. Let's try a small practice. Bring to mind something you are worried about, something that feels threatening to your sense of self. A fear of not being good enough at your job, perhaps, or a worry about a relationship. Now feel the tension in your body that this worry creates, the tightness in your chest, the clench in your stomach. That is the feeling of you trying to hold the mirror together. That is the energy of I can't let this shatter. Now see if you can change your perspective. Imagine that this identity, the good employee, the perfect partner, is just dust on a mirror. It's not the real you. The real you is the vast, open awareness behind the mirror. Can you let the identity go? Can you, just for this moment, be willing for it to be shattered? What if you did fail at that task? What if that person did reject you? It would be painful, yes. The dust would be disturbed. But would you, the deep, silent witness, be broken? No, you would remain whole, untouched, unbreakable. To not break, become the space around the shattering. This is the secret to a peace that cannot be disturbed. It is the end of a life of anxious self-protection. You can finally put down the armor because you realize there is nothing that truly needs to be protected. You are safe, not because the world is safe, but because your true nature is indestructible. As you relax deeper, feel this unbreakable quality within you. It is not a hardness, it is a softness. It is the softness of water, which cannot be broken by a sword. It is the softness of the sky, which cannot be scarred by lightning. It is your inherent nature. We'll soon open the lesson from the bowl that caught the moonlight, and you'll see that even in brokenness, light finds a way to gather. The shattering of the false self is not an end, but a beginning. It is the moment the light can finally enter. It is the cleaning of the mirror, so it can finally reflect the clear, true light of reality. Inward, the gate swings silently, unnoticed, but never closed. This resilience, this emptiness, is the key that unlocks that gate. Rest in your own unbreakable, spacious nature. Let the world throw its stones. Let the identities crack and fall away. You remain peaceful, whole, and ready for the deepest rest. The gate that opens inward. Having found the unbreakable space within, the quiet resilience that does not need to defend itself, we arrive at a threshold. We have been traveling outward into the world of metaphors, caves and leaves, birds and cups. But the journey of Zen, the path to healing, ultimately leads in only one direction. This brings us to a question that reorients our entire search for peace. Why does the truest path look like no path at all? Imagine you have been wandering for a very long time, searching for a legendary walled garden, a place of perfect peace and serenity. You have a map, passed down through generations, but it is old and cryptic. You have followed it through dense forests and over steep mountains, driven by the promise of finding this sanctuary. Finally, you arrive at a massive, imposing stone wall that stretches as far as you can see in either direction. This must be it. The wall is high and smooth, with no visible entrance. You walk along its length for miles, searching for a gate, a door, any kind of opening. You push against the stones, looking for a loose one. You shout, hoping someone inside will hear you. But there is nothing. Just the silent, impassable wall. Exhausted, frustrated, and on the verge of giving up, you collapse at the base of the wall. You are defeated. You close your eyes, surrendering to your failure. And in that moment of complete surrender, something shifts. The frantic energy of searching dissolves. The noise of your striving mind goes quiet. And in that new, profound stillness, you become aware of something you had completely overlooked. Right in front of you, hidden behind a curtain of tall, waving grass that you never bothered to part, is a small, simple, unlatched wooden gate. It was there all along. It was so close, so obvious that in your desperate search for a grand entrance, you missed it entirely. And you notice one more thing. The gate has no handle on the outside. It only opens inward. This is the sixth core principle of this healing journey. The path is walked inward. We spend so much of our lives like that seeker, searching for peace, happiness, and fulfillment out there. We believe it is in the next achievement, the next relationship, the next purchase, the next destination. We are constantly walking along the outside of the wall, pushing, striving, and exhausting ourselves, trying to find an external gate to the garden of peace. And we are always frustrated because the gate is not on the outside. It never was. The entire garden of peace is already within you. The wall that seems to be blocking you is your own mind, your own relentless focus on the external world. And the gate is hidden, not by complexity, but by simplicity. It is hidden by the tall grass of your own distracting thoughts. You only find it when you stop moving, when you stop searching, and when you finally turn your attention inward. Progress in Zen is measured not by steps forward, but by the moments we dare to turn inward. There is no need to push through the wall. There is no need to conquer it. You only need to see the gate that is already there, already unlatched, waiting for you. The gate that opens inward. This is a radical reorientation of our life's work. It suggests that the immense energy we put into controlling our outer world, our career, our reputation, our relationships, is misplaced. Not that those things are unimportant, but they are not the source of the peace we crave. The source is inside. Healing from within is not a metaphor. It is a literal change in direction. It is the conscious choice to stop looking outside for validation, for safety, for happiness, and to begin the quiet, courageous work of exploring your own inner landscape. There is a story of a monk who lived in a small hut at the foot of a mountain. Many people came to him seeking wisdom. One day, a wealthy merchant whose life was full of stress and anxiety, despite his great success, came to the monk. "Master," the merchant said, "I have everything a man could want, a large family, a thriving business, a respected name. But I have no peace. I work constantly to build walls around my life, to protect what I have, but I live in constant fear of losing it. Tell me, how can I find the security I crave?" The monk smiled and handed the merchant a broom. "The path to security," he said, "begins with sweeping the path to your own door." The merchant was insulted. He was a great man. He didn't come here for chores. He came for profound wisdom. He threw the broom down in anger and stormed off. Years passed, and the merchant's life became even more stressful. His wealth grew, but so did his anxieties. His health began to fail. He built higher walls, hired more guards, but the fear was inside him, and no external barrier could keep it out. Finally, humbled and broken, he returned to the monk's hut. He found the old man sitting peacefully on his porch, The merchant bowed low. "Master," he whispered, "I was a fool. I am ready to listen now. Please show me the path." The monk smiled the same gentle smile. He picked up the broom and once again offered it to the merchant. This time, the merchant took it. He began to sweep the small, dusty path that led from the road to the monk's front door. At first, he did it mechanically, his mind still racing with his worries. But the simple, rhythmic motion of the broom began to have an effect. Swish, swish. He started to notice the feel of the broom in his hands, the sound of the bristles on the packed earth, the way the dust danced in the sunlight. His frantic thoughts began to slow down. His focus, for the first time in years, was not on his global business empire, not on his investments, not on his fears. It was on this tiny patch of earth right in front of him. Swish, swish. As he swept, he began to realize the path he was cleaning was not just the path to the monk's hut. It was the path to his own inner home. The dust he was sweeping away was the clutter of his own mind. The simple, focused, inward-directed action was the gate. When he finally reached the door of the hut, his mind was quiet. His heart was calm. He looked up at the monk, his eyes filled with tears of understanding. He hadn't needed to go anywhere. He hadn't needed to acquire any secret knowledge. He just needed to stop, to turn his attention from the vast, chaotic world to the small, simple space right in front of him and within him. The path was not a journey across the world. It was a journey of a few feet from his head to his heart. Tonight, as you lie here, you are standing before that gate. The world outside, with all its demands and noises, is the imposing wall. The worries about tomorrow, the regrets about yesterday, these are the frantic search for an external entrance. The invitation now is to stop, to cease the search, to let go of the need to get somewhere else, and to gently part the tall grass of your thoughts. Behind them, you will find the gate. What is the gate? The gate is your breath. It is always here. It requires no effort to find. It opens inward. When you turn your attention to your breath, you are turning away from the external world and stepping through the gate into your own inner sanctuary. Let's walk through it now. Bring your awareness to the sensation of your breath. Don't try to change it. Just notice it. Feel the air entering your nostrils, cool and fresh. Follow it down into your lungs. Feel your chest or your belly gently rise. This is the inner world. It is a world of pure sensation, free from story, free from judgment. Then feel the pause at the top of the inhale, a moment of stillness, and then the release of the exhale, the gentle falling of your chest, the feeling of letting go. This simple, repeating cycle is the path. Each breath is a step inward, a step away from the noise and into the peace. you may find that your mind wanders, that it runs back outside the wall to check on a worry or a plan. That is natural. The habit of looking outward is very strong. When you notice your mind has wandered, don't be frustrated. That moment of noticing is the practice. Gently, kindly, without judgment, just guide your attention back to the gate, back to the breath. Every time you do this, you are strengthening the muscle of inward attention. You are teaching your nervous system that it is safe to be here, in this quiet, inner space. You are showing it that all the security you have been searching for in the world is right here, in this calm, centered presence. Sometimes the journey forward is a return to where we started ourselves. We don't need to become someone new. We just need to come home to the one who has been here all along, waiting patiently behind the gate. Rest in this inner garden now. It is your birthright. It is always accessible to you. The gate is always open. You only need to turn toward it. Let every breath be a gentle step deeper into your own peaceful heart. Let the world outside fade away. The walls, the searching, the striving, they don't matter anymore. You are inside. You are home. You are safe. Next, in the parable of the flame that waited without smoke, we'll discover how even fire can wait, and how not all transformation demands destruction. The inward path is not a path of fire and fury, but of quiet, patient unfolding. It is the gentle flame of awareness, burning steadily in the sanctuary of your own being. A flame unlit still warms the dark. Rest in that gentle, inner warmth now. Let it melt away the last of your tension. Let it illuminate the path to deep, dreamless sleep. You have arrived. The flame that waited without smoke. Having stepped through the gate that opens inward, we find ourselves in a quiet, sacred space. The frantic search has ended. We are home in the garden of our own being. But now, a new question arises. In this inner world, how does change happen? Our outer world conditions us to believe that transformation must be dramatic, loud, and effortful, a raging fire. But the wisdom of Zen presents a different, more sustainable model of change. It asks, must every flame burn to prove its light? Imagine a deep, silent cave, a place untouched by the sun for 1,000 years. In the center of this cave, on a flat stone altar, sits a single, unlit candle. The wax is old but not brittle. The wick is pristine, white, and ready. It has been waiting. For centuries, it has sat in this profound darkness and stillness. It is not striving to be lit. It is not lamenting its own darkness. It is not impatient for the fire. It simply waits in a state of perfect, potent readiness. There is no smoke, no heat, no flicker. And yet, in its waiting, the candle holds the complete and total potential for light. Its very presence in the cave is a quiet promise. It embodies a different kind of power, not the power of action, but the power of patient potential. It seems to glow faintly with the memory of a fire it has never known. This brings us to the seventh essential teaching for healing and deep sleep: patience as a spiritual strength. In our culture of immediacy, patience is often seen as a weakness, a form of passive waiting. We want instant results, overnight success, a quick fix for our pain. We want to light the candle now and burn away our anxiety, our sadness, our imperfections in a great cathartic blaze. We approach our own healing with a kind of violence, trying to force ourselves to change, to get over it, to be better faster. This approach, born of desperation, almost always leads to burnout and self-judgment. It is like trying to light a damp wick with a single match in a strong wind. It is a struggle, and it rarely works. The flame of true, lasting change is not born of frantic effort. It is born of patient, quiet cultivation. True change does not need chaos. Patience is a quiet fire that shapes mountains. The Buddha's own enlightenment is the ultimate story of patience. He didn't achieve it through a single heroic act. He achieved it by sitting. He sat under the Bodhi tree, not to fight the demons of his mind, but to witness them, to watch them arise and pass away. He sat through storms of desire, of fear, of doubt. He did not act. He did not react. He simply waited with a steady, unwavering attention. His patience was not passive. It was an act of supreme strength. It was the unlit candle, holding the potential for light, trusting that in its own time, the spark would arrive. And it did. The illumination that came to him was not a destructive fire, but a clear, steady, smokeless flame of understanding that lit up the entire world. There is a story of a young potter who wanted to create the perfect vase. He was talented and ambitious, but deeply impatient. He would work the clay with a feverish energy, trying to force it into the shape he held in his mind. But every time, something would go wrong. The clay would resist, the form would be slightly off balance, or it would crack in the kiln. In his frustration, he would smash the imperfect vase and start again, with even more frantic determination. His workshop was filled with the shards of his failed, impatient efforts. One day, his elderly teacher came to watch him work. She saw the tension in his shoulders, the frustration on his face, the violent way he handled the clay. She said nothing. She simply picked up a lump of clay herself and sat at her own wheel. She did not start working immediately. She just sat with the clay in her hands, feeling its weight, its temperature, its texture. She closed her eyes, and it seemed as if she was listening to it. Then, slowly, gently, with an economy of movement that was breathtaking to watch, she began to shape the clay. Her hands did not force it, they guided it. They invited it. It was a dance between the potter and the clay, a conversation. The vase seemed to rise from the wheel as if by its own volition, perfectly balanced, graceful, and alive. The young potter stared in awe. "How do you do it?" he asked. "Mine always fight me." The old woman smiled. "You are trying to make a vase," she said. "I am simply allowing a vase to be born. The clay already knows what it wants to become. My job is not to command it, but to listen to it, to be patient with it. The fire of the kiln does not create the vase. It only reveals the strength that was already there, patiently cultivated." Your inner world, your psyche, is like that clay. Your anxiety, your grief, your habits, they cannot be forced into a new shape. When you try to attack them, to fix yourself with impatient force, they will resist. They will crack. You will end up surrounded by the shards of your own self-judgment. Patience is the act of sitting with the clay of yourself, just as you are. It is the willingness to listen, to feel, to understand. It is the deep trust that the potential for wholeness, for the perfect vase, is already within you. It just needs time, gentle attention, and a safe space to emerge. Lying here tonight is a profound act of patience. You are not forcing yourself to sleep. You are creating the conditions in which sleep can naturally arise. You are the potter, gently holding the clay. You are the unlit candle, resting in the quiet dark, trusting that the light will come. This is a radical act of kindness toward yourself. You are letting go of the exhausting belief that you must be in a constant state of self-improvement. You are giving yourself permission to be a work in progress, to be unfinished, to be simply as you are in this moment. Let's practice this patience right now. Notice any feeling of restlessness in your body or mind, the subtle urge to shift position, the thought that this isn't working, or I should be asleep by now. This is the energy of impatience. It's the young potter wanting to smash the clay. Don't fight it. Don't judge it. Just notice it. See it as a cloud passing in the sky of your awareness. And now, bring your attention to something in your experience that is already patient. The slow, steady rhythm of your breathing. It is not in a hurry. It has been with you your whole life, rising and falling without any frantic effort. Let its patient rhythm be your anchor. Or feel the deep, quiet stillness in the center of your body. Beneath the surface agitation, there is a core of profound calm. It is like the unlit candle in the cave. It is always there, waiting. Rest your attention there. Feel its quiet, potent strength. Waiting is not weakness. It's the wisdom to let time unfold. True healing is not a race. It is a slow, organic process, like a seed growing into a tree. You cannot shout at a seed to make it grow faster. You can only provide it with soil, water, and sunlight, and then trust the process. Tonight, the darkness is your soil. Your gentle, non-judgmental awareness is your water. Your intention for peace is your sunlight. You have done enough. Now, all you have to do is rest and trust. Trust that your body knows how to heal. Trust that your mind knows how to find peace. Trust that sleep will come when it is ready, like a gentle guest arriving at your door, not because you dragged it in, but because you created a warm, welcoming, patient space for it. Let go of the timeline. Let go of the expectation. Release the need to be anywhere other than where you are right now. You are the candle in the cave, and your quiet, patient waiting is itself a form of light. It is a warmth that is already beginning to melt the frozen parts of your soul. It is a silent strength that is more powerful than any raging fire. We will be reminded of this truth in the story of the thread between the stars, where you'll feel how patience binds what we once thought was lost. The patient waiting is the spinning of the thread that connects everything. It is the quiet work that happens in the dark. Even clouds carry names we never gave them. And your own transformation is happening now, in this quiet moment, in ways you may not even be aware of. Rest in this profound, active patience. Allow yourself to be unfinished. Allow the vase to take its shape in its own time. Allow the candle to wait. In this allowing, in this trust, you will find the deep, restorative peace you have been seeking. The flame will light itself. The cloud that carried a name. In the quiet sanctuary of patience, we learn to trust the unfolding. We stop forcing and start allowing. And in this space of allowing, we can begin to notice the more subtle structures of our mind, the labels, the names, the definitions we have given to ourselves and to our experiences. This leads us to a liberating and essential question. What are you without your name? Imagine a young child lying on her back in a field of soft, green grass on a summer afternoon. She is watching the great, white clouds drift across the vast blue canvas of the sky. She is engaged in a game of naming. That one, she says to herself, is a dragon. And for a moment, the cloud is a dragon with a spiky tail and a puff of smoky breath. And that one is a great white ship sailing on a blue ocean. And so it is. She gives them names, and for a fleeting moment, the name and the form become one in her mind. But then, the wind, a gentle, invisible sculptor, begins to reshape them. The dragon's tail softens and melts away. The ship's sails dissolve into a formless wisp. The child feels a tiny pang of loss. Her dragon is gone. Her ship has vanished. But then she laughs because she sees a new shape emerging, a running horse, a giant's face, a fluffy sheep. She understands, with the innate wisdom of a child, that the names were just a game. The cloud was never a dragon. The cloud was never a ship. The cloud was always just a cloud, a transient, ever-changing, beautiful formation of water vapor and light. The name was a cage she put it in, and the wind was the freedom that released it. This is the 8th profound teaching for emotional release and deep sleep. Name is not self. We are like that child, but we have forgotten that it's a game. We have given ourselves names, and we believe them with all our hearts. I am anxious. I am depressed. I am an insomniac. I am not good enough. We take a transient, ever-changing state of mind or feeling, a cloud, and we give it a solid, permanent-sounding name. And then we start to believe we are the name. We build our identity around it. The name gives us a strange kind of comfort, the comfort of a familiar prison. It explains our suffering. It gives us a story, but it also cages us. It limits our potential for change. When you say, I am an anxious person, you are taking a fleeting feeling of anxiety and turning it into a concrete, unchanging aspect of your core being. You are mistaking the cloud for the sky. Buddhist psychology teaches that this act of naming and identifying is a primary source of suffering. The name is not the thing. The word water cannot quench your thirst. The map is not the territory. And the label anxiety is not you. It is just a word we use to describe a cluster of sensations and thoughts that are passing through you. It is a cloud, and the wind of your awareness, your patient, moment-to-moment attention, can and will reshape it. It will dissolve. It will change. But not if you are clinging to the name. Not if you believe you are the dragon. There's a story of a man who went to a Zen master, complaining of a great burden he carried. Master, he said, I am filled with a terrible anger. It has been with me for years. It poisons my relationships. It ruins my peace. I am an angry man. What can I do to get rid of it? The master looked at him and said, Show me this anger. Where is it? Bring it here, and I will cure you of it. The man was taken aback. I can't show it to you, he said. It's not a thing I can hold in my hands. It just comes and goes. Ah, said the master. So when it is not here, where does it go? And when it comes, where does it come from? And most importantly, who is the you that it is visiting? The man was silent. He had always thought of the anger as his anger. He had identified with it completely. But the master's questions created a space between him and the feeling. He began to see that the anger was a visitor. It came, it stayed for a while, and then it left. It was not the house itself. It was not him. He went away and contemplated this for a long time. He stopped calling himself an angry man. Instead, when the feeling arose, he would say to himself, Ah, the visitor of anger has arrived. I will offer it a cup of tea and let it stay as long as it needs to, but I will not mistake it for the master of the house. Over time, because he no longer fed it with his identification, because he no longer fought it, the visitor of anger came less and less often, and when it did, it didn't stay for very long. He had not destroyed his anger, he had dissolved his identification with it. He had let the cloud be a cloud without needing it to be a dragon forever. This is a deeply healing practice you can use right now as you lie in bed. What are the names you have given yourself? What are the clouds you are mistaking for the sky? Perhaps it's the cloud of insomnia. You have told yourself, I am a bad sleeper. I have insomnia. This name carries with it a whole story of struggle, frustration, and fear. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Tonight, can you try a different approach? Can you see this state not as a solid identity, but as a passing cloud? Can you say to yourself, right now, the energy of restlessness is present in my body. Right now, my mind is very active. Notice the difference. Restlessness is present is an observation of a temporary state. I am an insomniac is a declaration of a permanent identity. The first is a cloud. The second is a cage. By changing your language, you change your reality. You create space. You introduce impermanence. You remember that you are the vast, open sky of awareness, and this restlessness is just a weather pattern passing through. It is not you. It will not last forever. Let's practice this gentle unnaming. Whatever feeling is most present for you right now, anxiety, worry, physical pain, loneliness, try to take the label off it. Instead of calling it anxiety, can you feel into the raw, physical sensations of it? A tightness in the chest, a fluttering in the stomach, a coolness in your hands. Just feel the sensations without the story, without the name. These are just energies moving through the space of your body. They are not dangerous. They are not permanent. They are like the wind moving through an open door. If you don't tense up and try to block it, it will pass right through. The name is a form of resistance. It is an attempt to pin down, to control, to understand and experience. But some experiences are not meant to be understood, only to be felt, to be allowed, to be released. You are not what you are called. You are what remains when the name disappears. And what remains is pure awareness, pure presence, the silent, knowing sky. Rest in that sky-like nature now. Let the clouds of thought and feeling and identity drift by. Let them be dragons. Let them be ships. Let them be formless wisps of vapor. They are not you. You are the deep, blue, unwavering emptiness in which they appear. There is so much freedom in this. The pressure to be a certain way, to live up to a certain name, dissolves. You can finally just be. You are not your past. You are not your job. You are not your diagnosis. You are not your failures. You are not even your successes. These are all just names, stories, clouds. You'll hear this echoed again in the fable of the bowl that caught the moonlight, where reflection shows us who we are, only when we stop trying to see. When we stop trying to see a fixed identity, a name, we can finally see the pure, clear light that we are. A thread stretches through night, invisible, yet unbroken. This thread connects you to your true, nameless nature. It is the thread of pure being that was there before you were given a name, and will be there long after all the labels have dissolved. Feel that thread now. It is a current of peace, of stillness, of deep, quiet knowing. Let go of the names. Let go of the stories, and just be the sky. Watch the clouds, and drift gently, peacefully, into the nameless, dreamless expanse of deep sleep. The thread between the stars. Having released the weight of names, of labels, of fixed identities, we float in a vast, open sky of awareness. We are no longer a single, isolated cloud, but the spaciousness that holds all clouds. From this expanded perspective, a new and beautiful understanding can dawn, one that mends the deepest wounds of loneliness and separation. It begins with a question that feels both cosmic and deeply intimate. Can the stars be stitched into silence? Imagine an old woman, a grandmother, sitting on her porch on a clear, moonless night. The sky above her is a vast tapestry of black velvet, scattered with the diamond dust of a million distant stars. In her hands, she is weaving. Her fingers, gnarled with age, but still deft and sure, move with a lifetime of practice. But she is not weaving with wool or with cotton. She is weaving with a thread of starlight, a thread so fine it is completely invisible to the eye. Her needle is the needle of attention. Her loom is the great silence of the night. She is not creating a pattern. She is revealing one that is already there. With each pass of her invisible shuttle, she connects one star to another. She stitches the fierce light of Sirius to the gentle glow of a nameless, distant sun. She weaves the constellation of Orion to the faint shimmer of the Milky Way. She is not pulling the stars closer together. She is simply revealing the invisible thread of gravity, of light, of shared existence that already connects them. To the casual observer, the stars are separate, lonely points of light in an infinite, empty void. But the grandmother, with her patient, silent work, knows the truth. Nothing is separate. The space between the stars is not emptiness. It is the fabric that holds them all together. They are all part of one single, magnificent, interconnected weave. This is the 9th and penultimate teaching on our journey to deep, healing rest. We are all part of the same thread. This principle, known in Buddhist teachings as interbeing, is not a sweet, sentimental metaphor. It is presented as the fundamental truth of existence. It is a direct antidote to the profound sense of alienation and loneliness that haunts our modern world and keeps us awake at night. We feel separate. We feel isolated in our suffering. We look out at the world and see billions of other separate people, other separate lives, and we feel like a single, lonely star in a vast, cold darkness. This feeling of separation is a deep wound, and it is the root of so much of our fear and anxiety. We feel we must protect ourselves from all the other selves. We feel we must compete and hoard and defend. It is an exhausting way to live. Interbeing says that this feeling of separation is a profound illusion. It is a trick of perception. In reality, nothing exists by itself. Everything is deeply interconnected with everything else. The flower cannot exist without the rain, the soil, the sunshine, and the bee. The bee cannot exist without the flower. You cannot exist without the air you breathe, the food you eat, the people who grew that food, the generations of ancestors who came before you. You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. When you breathe in, you are breathing in the oxygen created by the trees and the phytoplankton. When you breathe out, you are giving carbon dioxide back to the plants. You are in a constant, intimate exchange with the entire cosmos. You are not living in the world. You are the world, experiencing itself for a little while as you. The Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh tells a beautiful story. He holds up a blank sheet of paper. He asks, "What is this?" We say, "It's a piece of paper." But then he asks us to look more deeply. He says, "If you are a poet, you will see a cloud floating in this sheet of paper. Without the cloud, there is no rain. Without the rain, the trees cannot grow. Without the trees, we cannot make paper. So the cloud is in the paper. If we look even more deeply, we will see the sunshine. We will see the logger who cut the tree. We will see the logger's parents. We will see the wheat that became the bread for the logger's lunch. The entire universe is present in this single sheet of paper. It cannot exist by itself. It can only interbe with everything else. You are like that sheet of paper. You are not just you. You are your parents and their parents. You are the books you have read and the music you have heard. You are the kindness of a stranger and the pain of a first heartbreak. You are the clouds and the sunshine and the rain. You are a convergence point for the entire universe. You are not alone. You have never been alone. You cannot be alone. It is a cosmic impossibility. When we truly feel this in our hearts, not just as an idea, but as a living reality, the fear of loneliness begins to dissolve. The burden of our isolated suffering becomes lighter because we realize we are not carrying it by ourselves. We are part of a vast, interconnected web of being, and our personal pain is also the world's pain. Our personal joy is also the world's joy. We are the weave, not the thread. How can we feel this connection right now as we lie in our bed? Let us return to the breath. Feel the air entering your body. This air has been everywhere. It has been in the lungs of your loved ones. It has swept over distant oceans and high mountains. It has been inside the great trees of the Amazon rainforest. In this single, simple breath, you are taking the entire world into yourself. You are affirming your connection to all of life. Now feel the exhale. You are breathing out, and your breath is joining the great atmosphere of the planet. You are giving back. You are participating in the great, silent conversation of existence. This is not a metaphor. It is a physical reality. Breathe in the world. Breathe out to the world. Feel the boundary between you and not you begin to soften and dissolve. You are not a fortress. You are a porous, breathing part of a living whole. Think of someone you love. Picture them in your mind. Now, understand that the same life force that animates you is animating them. The same atoms that make up your body are scattered throughout the universe, and some of them are in their body. The love you feel is not just an emotion in your head. It is a real, connecting thread, an invisible force like gravity that binds you together across any distance. Now think of someone you find difficult, someone with whom you are in conflict, and see if you can gently acknowledge that they too are part of this web. They too are a convergence of sun and rain and ancestors. They too suffer. They too want to be happy. When we see others as ourselves, as another part of the same great being, the thread of anger and resentment begins to loosen. It is replaced by a thread of compassion, of understanding. The thread never breaks. This understanding of interbeing is the ultimate form of emotional healing. It tells us that our wounds are not just our own. They are the wounds of the world. And when we work to heal ourselves with patience and with love, we are helping to heal the entire tapestry. Your quiet rest tonight is a gift not just to yourself, but to all beings. Your peace radiates outward on invisible threads. When you are at peace, you make the world a more peaceful place. It is the most powerful and effective work you can do. You are the grandmother on the porch of the night, silently weaving the world together with your quiet, loving attention. You are stitching the stars into a silent symphony of connection. Let this feeling of profound, unshakable connection be your comfort tonight. You are held by the entire universe. You are a beloved and necessary part of a cosmic masterpiece. There is no need to be afraid. There is no need to feel alone. You are home, not just in your bed, but in the heart of existence itself. The moon's reflection returns in the final story, the bowl that caught the moonlight, where we'll realize that even emptiness can hold everything. The empty sky between the stars is what allows the whole pattern to be seen. And the stillness of your mind is what will allow you to see the final, most beautiful truth. Even the moon needs a bowl to rest in. Let your heart be that bowl now. Open, willing, and feel the soft, silvery light of all the stars in the universe pouring into you, connecting you holding you and guiding you into the most profound and peaceful sleep. The bowl that caught the moonlight. We have journeyed far tonight, from the silent cave to the falling leaf, from the empty cup to the unbreakable mirror, from the inward gate to the patient flame. We have released our names like clouds and felt the invisible threads that weave us into the fabric of the stars. And now we arrive at our final destination, a place of ultimate stillness and luminous clarity. Here, all the teachings converge into one single, perfect image. Our journey ends not with a grand revelation, but with a quiet, simple moment of being. It begins with our final question: what happens when stillness finally holds the light? Imagine a simple porcelain bowl. It is ancient, but flawlessly crafted. It sits on a wooden veranda, overlooking a still, quiet garden in the deep of night. The world is asleep. The wind is silent. The crickets have sung their last song. There is only a profound, deep stillness. Above, a full moon hangs in the black sky, a perfect, luminous pearl. It pours its soft, silver light down onto the sleeping world. And the little porcelain bowl, sitting there, unmoving, does something miraculous. It receives the light. The moonlight doesn't just fall on the bowl, it gathers inside it. The bowl is no longer just a bowl. It has become a vessel filled with pure, liquid light. It holds the moon. It does not chase the moon. It does not strive for the moon. It does not even wish for the moon. It simply sits, still, open, and empty. And because it is still, open, and empty, the moon comes to it. It becomes a perfect reflection of the celestial beauty above. The vast, distant, shining moon and the small, simple, earthen bowl become one. This is the 10th and final principle, the culmination of our entire journey tonight. The mind reflects the moon when still. The moon is the light of wisdom, of clarity, of pure consciousness. It is your true nature. It is always there, shining in the sky of your being. But your mind is often like a turbulent, choppy lake. It is stirred up by the winds of worry, desire, and fear. And when the water is choppy, it cannot reflect the moon. It can only reflect its own turmoil, breaking the moon's light into 1,000 frantic, distorted fragments. You look at your mind and you see only the chaos, and you believe that is who you are. The work of meditation, of Zen, of this entire sleep journey is not to create the moon. The moon is already there. The work is simply to allow the water to become still. The bowl does not chase the moon, it simply waits. So too does the mind become clear not by effort, but by rest. For a lifetime, you have been trying to fix the reflection. You have been trying to rearrange the broken pieces of light on the surface of the water, hoping to form a perfect moon. You have been analyzing the fragments, judging them, trying to understand why they are so chaotic. It is a futile and exhausting task. The Zen masters tell us to forget the reflection and focus on the water. When the water is still, the reflection will take care of itself. When your mind is at rest, your true, luminous, peaceful nature will naturally shine forth. The stillness is not an end in itself. It is the condition for revelation. The story is told of the great poet-monk Ryokan. He lived a simple life in a small mountain hut. One night, a thief broke into his hut looking for things to steal. But Ryokan owned almost nothing. He had no money, no treasures, just a simple robe, a bowl, and a few books. The thief, finding nothing of value, was about to leave in frustration. Ryokan stopped him. "You have come a long way to visit me," he said, "and you should not leave empty-handed. Please take my clothes as a gift." He took off his robes and gave them to the bewildered thief, who took them and ran off into the night. Ryokan sat naked in his hut, watching the moon through his open door. He didn't feel loss or anger. He felt a deep, tender compassion. He wrote a short poem, a haiku, that has been cherished for centuries. The thief left it behind, the moon at my window. The thief could steal his clothes, his possessions, his external world. But he could not steal the moon. He could not steal Ryokan's inner peace, his quiet joy, his ability to reflect the beauty of the present moment. Ryokan's mind was the still bowl. Even in the face of this unsettling event, the water of his mind was so calm that it could perfectly reflect the moonlight at his window. This is the ultimate freedom, a peace that is not dependent on external circumstances, a joy that cannot be taken from you. It is the peace of the still bowl, the luminous mind. And this peace is your birthright. It is not something you need to earn or achieve. It is the very nature of your awareness. As you lie here now, you have done the work. You have walked the path. You have let go of the clinging, the identities, the striving. You have allowed the waters of your mind to begin to settle. Perhaps they are not perfectly still yet, and that is okay. The process is gentle and gradual, but can you feel it? A quietness that wasn't there before, a sense of space, a feeling of restfulness in your very cells. This is the stillness beginning to emerge. This is the water becoming calm. And now, all that is left to do is to be the bowl, the remaining light of peace effort. Release the doer. Fall asleep. There is just a body resting. There is just a mind settling. Awareness open and receptive. Veranda. It does not ask the bowl to be bigger or shinier or more perfect. It simply fills whatever shape is offered. And this peace does not judge you. It does not ask you to be better or different than you are. It simply fills you just as you are, perfectly imperfect, human, and worthy of this profound rest. Stillness is not an end. It is the return to what has always been waiting. The moon has been in the sky your whole life. Your true, peaceful nature has been within you your whole life. All it asks is that you stop, that you rest, that you become still enough to see it, to feel it, to be it. Let the stories and the teachings of tonight dissolve now. Let them become the soft earth of the garden. All that is needed is this final, simple image. You are the bowl. Your mind is the stillness. And your heart is filled with the soft, healing light of the moon. There is nothing else to do, nowhere else to go, nothing to fix. You have arrived. You are home. Rest in this light. Let it hold you. Let it dissolve the last remnants of tension and worry. Let it be the gentle lullaby that carries you across the threshold into deep, restorative, dreamless sleep. The light will stay with you through the night, a silent guardian, a peaceful presence, and you will wake refreshed, renewed, and remembering on some deep level the quiet wisdom of the still bowl. If ever your heart feels heavy, or your mind longs for stillness, know that this place will always be here, quietly waiting for you. Zen, Buddhism healing will be here. A space of rest beyond thought, a place to return to again and again. Whenever you need, you're welcome. Welcome to the peace that was always yours. Sleep now. Sleep well.